All right, everybody, we're live on the air once again for the PWP Nation Raw review with Jay Alletto and Eron Ramadanov. What's up, Aaron?
What's going on? Thanks for holding it down last week. I appreciate it. Feeling much better.
Good, no doubt, no doubt. I do what I can do, bro. I'm used to flying solo, so I'm pumped to be back with you here tonight, man. It's much easier with my partner here, my
Right.
editor in chief. So welcome back,
Well,
dude.
you had to suffer by yourself last week, so
Yeah, absolutely right. And this week I don't think I really suffered as much because big Monday Night Raw, the Raw after Royal Rumble. A lot of people love this show. It's usually notoriously this is a pretty fun show, and I think tonight kind of was reminiscent of old Raw after Royal Rumble. A lot of good stuff happened tonight, man.
yeah, for sure. It kind of felt a little bit different. It had a little bit more intensity, obviously coming off the Royal Rumble. It felt like everyone was kind of starting new and fresh, and a lot of guys succeeded and a couple failed. So I'm interested to talk about all of them.
I definitely wasn't mad at it overall, but let's start from the
Right.
get, man. First of all, let's just touch on the Royal Rumble last night before we even go into Raw, and they kind of go hand in hand. So, the Royal Rumble last night to me was a tale of two shows. I think 50% was good, 50% kind of sucked, way too long. I had a lot of critiques, and I was getting critiqued on my critiques over last night, up until late hours of the night talking to people on Twitter about the show. A lot of mixed reactions, man. But overall, I always have fun watching the Royal Rumble, but I always have very high expectations. And then the show as an entirety really didn't live up to expectations for me, man. What about you?
Yeah, it was tough. Like you said, a lot of good, a lot of bad, but there was just like you said, it was a really long show, and I have a tough time with when any wrestling show period goes past 4 hours. I mean, even four is pushing it a lot of times. NXT Takeover this weekend was 2.5 hours. That's such a great sweet spot for me. Five good matches. The pacing was great, and then you have to sit through the Royal Rumble, which is unfortunately almost 5 hours long. Which, man, after we were through all the women's matches, it was almost like a women's block and then a men's block. After that women's block, I was really spent, and it's unfortunate because there was a lot of good wrestling in the second half of that show. So, it's just tough whenever you have that long of a show. It's really difficult to navigate. But a lot of great stuff happened last night. The men's rumble was fantastic. Seth Rollins winning that really was great, and I'm glad they're finally going with him. We were questioning whether Braun Strowman was ready a couple weeks ago, and I think Seth Rollins is a really good choice. And as we saw tonight, Becky Lynch, a very great choice for the women's rumble as well.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And speaking of Seth Rollins, he kicked off the show tonight. The men's Royal Rumble winner kicked off Monday Night Raw. And I thought they were going to go with his decision to kick off the show. I thought that's how they were going to play it out. But we have a little bit of a storyline developing here, and it's been boiling up over the couple of weeks with Triple H and Seth Rollins kind of rekindling their connection that they used to have. Triple H kind of told Seth Rollins a few weeks ago to step up to the plate. This is your time to do it. And that was really the beginning of this push to the main event of WrestleMania. And then we got Dean Ambrose's involvement in this promo segment. Now, I know you're a giant Triple H fan, brother, as am I. I'm a big Triple H mark too, especially now. We can talk about 2003 another time, but the promo segment was good, and then Dean Ambrose's involvement kind of maybe was shedding a little bit of storytelling into the future, a little bit of shining some light on what might be to come, dude. I don't know what you think here, but it seems to me like they're planting some seeds for an eventual Ambrose versus Triple H match, dude. What do you think?
Yeah, the second that Triple H came out as kind of an overwhelming babyface was kind of telling, and the fact that Ambrose was thrown in there gives me the idea that they might go with Ambrose and Triple H for WrestleMania. Neither of them really have an opponent right now. Depending on how Triple H's rehab is going, as far as the training and stuff, I know he told conference callers this past weekend that he was beginning training. So it's very possible that he's ready for WrestleMania, and Dean Ambrose could be a really good option for him. I like Triple H in this role a lot because I feel like he's that connection that we miss with a lot of these old time guys, where Triple H still has the credibility to go in the ring. He still is great on the microphone. He's obviously in the role as the, an authority figure. So he holds a lot of credibility from a storyline perspective. So I feel like his involvement with Seth Rollins has really been interesting. I remember a couple weeks ago when he first got involved, people were kind of wondering why. And we kind of found out why. It was just to add a little bit of something in there. And the fact that those two got emotional together was pretty interesting. I couldn't really tell if it was real emotions or if they were just putting him on. It kind of seemed like a little bit of both. I'm not really sure, but I like the kind of stripped down Seth Rollins more than anything, the guy who's just kind of talking to the fans as his own person. So I'm glad that like I said, Seth Rollins is getting this push, and I hope he beats Brock Lesnar for the title. That would be the nice cherry on top.
Yeah, and Ambrose's involvement was interesting because it kind of led to Ambrose versus Rollins. This is the hopefully culmination of this story for now. I don't think they'll ever be done. You know what I mean? I think they can always go back to this, whether it's in the main event or different spots of the card in different situations down the line. I think this is something they can always turn back to. They'll be tied together for the rest of their careers for sure. But this kind of ends it cleanly. Seth Rollins picks up the clean win over Dean Ambrose in your stereotypical Ambrose Rollins match. It was good, not great, nothing really surprising here. But overall, we did get that bit of storytelling, like you mentioned, possible Ambrose Triple H at WrestleMania. I think that's very, very possible. There were rumors, dude. I think you caught these rumors that Ambrose was going to wrestle EC3 at WrestleMania, but this dude is conspicuous by his absence. No EC3 in the Rumble, no EC3 on Raw tonight. So I don't see that really going down, but a lot of shit can change. But let's transition to the next segment here. Ambrose is visibly upset. He's not feeling it. He sits in the ring, kind of Mick Foley style from years past, grabs a chair, just sits in the ring. They go to commercial break. He comes back. He's sitting there. And then Nia Jax kind of comes out and just punks him. And while we're gonna transition into this next match and this segment with Nia Jax, Tamina, and Dean Ambrose, I got to touch on Nia Jax's involvement in the Men's Royal Rumble and tell you how much I fucking hated it. I absolutely positively despise this. Okay, this is one of the things that I have despised the most, hated them. I don't use the word hate a lot in my life, but I hated this. I did not like it. There was no build up towards this. There was no real reason for Nia Jax's involvement in the Men's Royal Rumble, especially after a mediocre showing in the Women's Royal Rumble and just a mediocre showing in general throughout her career. She punked Rey Mysterio like it was nobody's business. Dolph Ziggler bumped Randy Orton onto the ground, destroyed R-Truth. That took that entire mixed challenge Facebook tournament and fucking flushed it down the toilet. Like, this was horrible on all levels. And tonight, she punks Dean Ambrose. She hits Dean Ambrose from behind. What the fuck was going on here, man? Please tell me that you agree with me, because if you don't, we might have to end the show now early.
Well, I will say, I did say on Twitter that I'm okay with intergender wrestling when when it's done correctly, when it's done okay, and it's not too far-fetched. I will say that. So for the Rumble, for example, let me just touch on that real quick. For the Rumble, at first, yes, I was like, I don't necessarily know if I want to see Nia Jax in this match bumping around with men. I will say, when she was in there and she, was taking those bumps well, and the fans seem to have been reacting really well to her as far as that RKO and the 619. I will say, I think she held her own for what she needed to do in there. I'm okay with intergender stuff when it looks good. I will say the antithesis of what I just said happened tonight, where we have somebody like Nia Jax punking somebody like Dean Ambrose, who really doesn't need that right now. And, really quickly on Ambrose, he was so great in that promo with Triple H and Seth Rollins. Really did a great job and got me to feel some kind of emotion. And that's been completely lost in what we've seen from Dean Ambrose since his return. So I will say, he started off so great in that promo, and then by the end, he just looked like another guy. And that was the thing that he really didn't need. And the fact that Nia Jax was the one to do it to him was the extra knife in the back there. So, Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Nia Jax thing tonight was not very good, and I don't want to see them continue with this, where every week Nia Jax comes out and punks another male wrestler. I understand that we want equality and we want we want we want to see women get fair opportunities and all this stuff, but we don't need to see women beating up men, and just the same as we don't need men beating up women each and every week on Raw.
Here's my beef with it, man. I was on Twitter, like I said, talking about this late into the night, man. Because Royal Rumble, I wasn't home until a quarter to 1 in the morning or something. So this was fucking ridiculous. Anyway, people bring up China, saying comparing this to China's involvement in the 1999 Royal Rumble. Completely different. First of all, China had been fighting men on Raw, not in matches, but she was getting physically involved with men for years before the 1999 Rumble. On top of that, if you guys never saw this, I think it was maybe the Raw before that Royal Rumble, or maybe 2 Raws before it. They did something called the Corporate Rumble. It was the Corporation versus the Generation X in a little mini Royal Rumble to determine who got the 30th spot in the Rumble. I think. Pretty positive it was number 30. Yeah, it was number 30. And basically what happened was, to make a long story short, Vince McMahon thought he was the winner. He came out, he dumped Triple H and Ken Shamrock over the top rope, and he thought he was the winner. And then the buzzer went off and China comes out and eliminates Vince in one of the most vicious eliminations in Battle Royal history. Vince almost broke his damn neck going over the top rope for China. But there was build here. There was believability here. China was in shape, man. She was jacked. Nia Jax was gassed after walking down the aisle for the second time in the night. I hated this beyond belief, and I hated the next match too, because you get the return of Alexa Bliss, and everybody seems to be happy to want to see her, and I'm happy to see her always because Alexa Bliss is hot as shit, and she's getting better in the ring. She's starting to understand the psychology behind it, and I think she's going to be a legend, I think, in pro wrestling for years to come. Her popularity is unbelievable to me. I didn't know she was as popular as she is until I started looking into her merchandise sales and stuff like that, and she is mega popular. But here we go, man. Nia Jax dominant again. Nia and Tamina move on into the Elimination Chamber at is the pay-per-view called? When is Elimination Chamber? When even is that? That's we have
February 17th, I want to say.
So we have Elimination Chamber and we have Fastlane before WrestleMania, correct? If I'm not mistaken. It's both, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's both. So we're going to get Elimination Chamber and then Fastlane or vice versa. I guess it's Elimination Chamber first. I don't even, see, they're so convoluted with all these shows now that it just confuses the living shit out of me. But we'll figure this out, man. We'll straighten it up. But Nia and Tamina win. They're going on to the Chamber. I got to say, they're probably front runners to win that match at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, it seems like the booking of Nia Jax has been really interesting. It seemed like she was going to be dead in the water only a few weeks ago, and I'm just interested to see what the all of a sudden the change of heart. It seems like they're going to be pushing her harder than ever, and that it seems like it's going to be coming at the cost of more male superstars. So. I'll be interested to see what they do over the next couple of weeks, and I think you're right. I think her and Tamina are the front runners for those tag titles right now.
We all know why they're pushing her, man. There's a guy named Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That's why they're pushing her. And we'll end there. Next thing we had was Kurt Angle, Baron Corbin. We got a little promo segment backstage with Angle, and I don't know what they're doing here with him. I'm getting like the Rocky Balboa type vibe right here from Kurt Angle, old Rocky, not like Rocky who was kicking ass and world champion, but kind of like the broken down, beaten up Rocky that needs to have this redemption story. I think that's what they're shooting for here because he lost clean to Baron Corbin, who has been one of the lamest wrestlers on Raw in recent memory. But he's gaining wins, he's gaining momentum. He needed it. Baron Corbin needed some rehab after that terrible GM run he had. But Kurt Angle loses clean to Corbin. The only question I really have for you, brother, what's next for Angle here? Like, where does he go? Do they continue this storyline? Is this going to be something that we see on Raw next week? Are they going to put it on pause again like they did with Drew McIntyre last month and then come back to it a month from now? Like, what do you think they're doing here with Angle, dude?
I really don't know. This is one of the things that, again, people will say that I'm nitpicking here, but like you have somebody like Kurt Angle, right, who like world-class athlete, one of the greatest of all time, You could build this great overarching story of his big comeback, him getting, some momentum under his belt, winning a couple matches against mid-level guys, and then you could easily pit him up against somebody who's a legitimate contender to maybe the world championship or someone they consider pretty highly within the company. And instead, he's kind of lingering around. He pops in every here and there, and he loses to Baron Corbin, and all these different things. And it just really shows how much they miss opportunities, and they don't really see what they have right under their noses. I mean, you have a story built in here with Kurt Angle, somebody who's has so many trials and tribulations in his career with his neck, his substance issues, all these different things. You could build this great story of him, wanting this one big run left and wanting it to culminate at WrestleMania against somebody like a Drew McIntyre, like a Finn Balor, somebody who, you could play that storyline up of Kurt Angle doesn't have it in him. He can't win the big one anymore, and have that culminate at WrestleMania. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's what they're going to do, and they're telling it a little bit differently than usual. I'm still going to hold my judgment on it until we see what exactly Kurt Angle is going to be doing at WrestleMania, if anything. But I think they would miss a huge opportunity here if they don't take somebody like, for example, Drew McIntyre, who already has a built-in story with him. You could always build Kurt Angle back up and say, have Kurt say, hey, I want to take you on one more time, but this time it's going to be at WrestleMania, a place where I know how to perform, but you don't necessarily know how to perform or perform at yet. So I think there's a great built-in story there. Hopefully they pull the trigger on it, and I'll hold my judgment until the next couple weeks at least.
Yeah, me too, man. I hope they continue to keep Angle on TV and tell this story like kind of quickly. I don't want them to do the stop-start shit with Angle. At least have him be in the arena. Maybe lose to challenge, step up to Bobby Lashley or somebody else, and just continue to tell the story of being the underdog and working his way back. And it's a redemption story. I think that's clear. It's going to be a redemption story somehow, some way. I just don't know how quickly they're going to do it or who it's going to culminate with, because it's obviously not going to be Corbin, or I don't think it's going to be McIntyre at this point either. But the next thing we had here on the docket on the show, awkward. This was awkward to me. Okay, every time they do something super staged like this, and I don't know if you know what I'm getting at here, but Finn Balor is walking around backstage, like walking to the ring. He's limping, and there's like all these random superstars just kind of like chilling. Like he says what's up to somebody, like Apollo Crews is just standing there. Then he walks a couple more feet, and Heavy Machinery are over there, and Bailey and Sasha are over there. Is this how we're supposed to believe Raw backstage is? Like these people just hang out like perfectly, 5 steps or 10 steps apart. To me, it was just weird and awkward, and that's something I like to nitpick about. Just these weird backstage things that just they seem overly staged and not very organic. And I think when you're backstage, it should be more organic feeling. But Balor limps his ass to the ring and cuts a little promo here. And I called it last night, ladies and gentlemen. And I think probably a lot of people did. But I saw so many predictions that Finn Balor would bring the Demon to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. There'd be like a rematch. But I didn't see that happening at all. This is typical WWE booking here. You have somebody lose to Brock, and then they plummet down the card. I mean, he's taking a step backwards now, wrestling Bobby Lashley, but it's not that big of a step down. I think an Intercontinental title reign would be fantastic for Finn Balor, and Lashley could be the perfect guy to bring the Demon back to fight. But basically, Lashley came out and beat the trash out of Balor here, who was nursing injuries from the beatdown from Brock Lesnar. But another pump up the crowd type promo from Balor, because they love him, man. There's one thing about Finn Balor is they absolutely love this guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think I was surprised when you told me that a lot of people thought we were going to get another Finn Balor Lesnar match. I really didn't see that. I didn't see that at all.
Real quick, not to cut you off, sorry, but Jason Solomon, who we know, Solo Monster, who's a big podcaster, he's one of the most, prestigious guys out there as far as his wrestling takes. He tweeted that like immediately, and I responded. I'm like, dude, man, I think you're wrong here, because I don't think they want to do Seth Rollins. Like, what sense would Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan make at this stage of the game? They've been building up Rollins to fight Lesnar for months.
Right, and that's the thing is, and I never saw Finn Balor as anything but a one-off match. I mean, props to Finn Balor, though. I mean, he did have a great performance last night. I think it's okay that he shuffled down the card. I think I think with these types of matches, especially these one-offs that Brock seems to have, especially at like Royal Rumble and these kind of pay-per-views that aren't really, he's not needed to have like these big, huge feuds. He can have like these fun one-off matches with. I think whenever these matches happen, you kind of have to take away as much as you can from it. And I think if they can do that with Finn, where you sell the story of he almost beat him, he really did almost beat him, and Brock just happened to get him at the right angle and got that Kimura on. I think if the announcers can sell that enough, if the storytelling can sell that enough, and I think they did that somewhat tonight. I think you can take away a lot from that match with Brock and have it kind of fuel Finn Balor into this Intercontinental Championship feud. And I think Bobby Lashley is a really good first opponent after this feud because him and Brock are very similar in style and physique. So you can always kind of tell the story of Finn Balor being able to beat these type of Goliath characters. So props to Finn Balor, a good performance again. One subtle thing I really wanted to talk about with Finn Balor is a lot of people talk about how much he smiles all the time. And he smiles almost every week. He's always smiling. I've seen people criticize him for always smiling. And then tonight, no smiles, very rare here and there, but no smiles at all. And I think when you do that, when you can subtly plant those seeds of this guy's always smiling, but tonight he's not smiling because he lost a big match and he's concerned about his future. He's concerned about what WrestleMania holds for him. And that's a really good storytelling plot point that you can do with a character like Finn Balor to keep him interesting. So I really like that. And I hope Finn Balor can succeed in this Intercontinental Championship feud.
I think he will. I guess he vied for the title last year at WrestleMania in a triple threat match with The Miz and Rollins, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I remember this correctly. And that also had other shots at it too against The Miz and Seth Rollins in different scenarios and never really won the title at all. He didn't really do much. And he had, what's funny about Finn Balor? He had, I think, the best record on Raw in 2018, but he never won a title, no IC title run, nothing. But he had one of the best, I think he had the best record, win-loss record on Monday Night Raw. And we all know how much that means. It really doesn't mean shit. But, right. Finn Balor, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head that Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley should be a good match. And if we get this different side of Finn Balor again, not the big smile. And the reason I rip on him all the time for the smile thing is because I can just see Vince McMahon telling him to smile before he goes out the curtain. Like, give me that smile, pal. And Balor probably just does the biggest smile he possibly can because Vince probably just drills that into his head over and over and over again. So, yeah, dude, hopefully we get a little bit of a different side of Finn Balor moving forward. Next up, the Revival with no entrance, okay? No entrance for the Revival against Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. The Major Brothers have returned.
Yeah.
The Major Brothers are back. The Edgeheads are back in action. And this was a kind of an easy win for the Revival. I mean, we got the hot tag to Kurt Hawkins, which is no big deal. Nobody cares. Revival wins. Got anything on this, bro?
Not really. To be honest with you, I think the Revival – I just hope the Revival don't get fooled into thinking that Vince will ever care about the tag team division. It's been pretty clear that he does not care about it very much, and the fact that it feels very disingenuous. I mean, anytime Vince all of a sudden gets this will to like revitalize or reinvigorate these tag team championships or these tag team title divisions, it always comes off just kind of like, yeah, we know what's going to happen in a couple months. We know he's going to kind of probably leave these guys to the side again, and they'll be back to where they started, and they're not even in a high place right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Ryder and Hawkins. At least those two are doing something on Raw now. That's all. That's all I really got.
Yeah, they'll dip into a feud with the Ascension in no time, man. That's where Zack Ryder and Hawkins will be. So Brian cut a promo. Basically, Brian served no purpose aside from being there to cut a promo. I thought he was going to come out in front of the crowd. I thought he was going to come to the ring and stand there with Lesnar and Heyman, and Seth Rollins would be there and make his decision. But we're going to get to the end of the show in a minute. That really didn't go down the way we thought it would. Did you catch the next segment, though? You said your internet went down. Did you catch this with Elias?
I did, yeah. I went back and rewinded and then skipped ahead during the commercials and stuff. So, yeah.
So this was, I get it. Like, I understand what they're trying to get at here, the nostalgia thing with Jeff Jarrett and the Road Dogg, Jesse James, and all this stuff. But did they just turn Elias heel?
They sure did.
Why? Why see? I don't understand this, man. The audience loves this guy. They chant everything with him. This is like when they turned Braun Strowman heel, just on a little bit of a lower level a couple of months ago. The crowd is behind him. The audience loves him. The WWE Universe sings with him and wants all this good stuff to happen with him, wants him to be pushed, all this good shit. But they turn him heel? I don't. This was a very entertaining segment to me and any old school fan that grew up watching Jeff Jarrett. I mean, listen, when he walks out there like that and says "slap nuts" live on Raw, I couldn't help but mark out. I loved it. I loved the whole segment. It was fun, but I don't understand the Elias heel turn, man. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, it really is a surprising move. I think now this is just me speculating. I think what they're doing here is they're realizing that they can't really put Elias over anybody else that they have right now as far as like in ring wise. Like it feels like to me like they hold a lot of these other guys in a higher position than him as far as in the ring. And I don't think they feel like if he's a baby face, he can't really back it up in the ring. So we can't really have him be a baby face, if that makes any sense. Like he lost to Baron Corbin last week or the week before. Like, you know what I mean? So it feels like to me that they'd rather just have him be a heel, be able to use him as a foil more so than a hero. And I mean, they know their product better than I do, as much as I've been told on Twitter the last couple of days. So, you know, it is a weird thing. I mean, like you said, he was so over with the fans, and the fans kept cheering him, even though he was insulting them. So I think that'll continue to happen. I think people won't let it go, and I think they're going to end up turning him back in a couple months.
Yeah, I have a weird suspicion that they're doing this for some kind of WrestleMania moment.
Right.
With a baby face. Like, I don't dare I say The Rock does something with him at WrestleMania. I doubt it, but I think they're building him up for some kind of like performance thing to be a heel and then a baby face to just completely destroy it. But anyway, Elias grabs both guitars because Jeff Jarrett came down with one, of course. Elias already had his. He hit the Road Dogg with one while he's singing With My Baby Tonight, which, whatever. We heard that at the Hall of Fame. We hear it again on Raw, but and then he fought Jeff Jarrett, got some shit in. Jeff Jarrett blocked a couple punches, fired back, and then Elias, of course, gets the best of him. Hits him with the guitar, too, so Elias is heel now. Natty and Dana Brooke backstage segment goes right into the next qualifying match for the Women's Elimination Chamber for the tag titles. Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan, my girl, versus Natty and Dana Brooke here. Nothing. I mean, there's nothing really to touch on here, man. Not a lot of substance. This is just another qualifying match for Elimination Chamber where Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan stand no chance. Bro, I got anything on this, dude?
Not really. Just a tag match to fill some time and add another team into the match at the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, I mean, props to props to Natty, to be honest with you. I mean, she is just, I really like Natty. I've always had a soft spot for Natty. And she continues to just be a professional and going out there with women that she is clearly better than. And she continues to take pins. So, yeah, just another women's tag team match.
Yeah, she's been on the roster for so many years. I don't know how much more you can do. I think they're probably going to turn her heel again or something. I don't know what they're doing with Natty, but speaking of Natty, here's her best friend coming out next, Ronda Rousey. All right, listen, man, this promo was awful. And I'm going to let you talk about it in a second, but I just want to say one thing before you give your criticism on Ronda Rousey's promo. Listen, man, this is like, if you want to get good at something, if you want to get good at push-ups, the only way to get good at push-ups is to do push-ups. This pertains to basically everything in life. The only way to get good at these in-ring promos is by doing these in-ring promos. We watched Charlotte Flair go through these same growing pains. There were situations where she was flustered out there, stumbled over her lines when the crowd was being rowdy and chanting for Sasha or whatever they were doing back then. In this case, Ronda Rousey's never been in front of this hostile of an audience. She's been in front of the hostile audiences before. WrestleMania was hostile, the Raw after WrestleMania, all that stuff. But she hasn't had this kind of adversity against her. And the reason being is everybody knew what was coming. I think it's obvious that Becky Lynch is going to challenge Ronda Rousey at this point. I think everybody in that arena knew it. Everybody at home knew it. Nobody in the right mind believed that Becky Lynch was going to challenge Asuka again after losing clean to Asuka at Royal Rumble. So Ronda Rousey had everything working against her, and she should have been prepared for this. And I want to believe that she was. I want to believe that they told her, Ronda, this is probably going to happen. And if they didn't, that's somebody's fault. Because I know I sure would have. I would have told her, hey, listen, Ronda, you're going to face some adversity out there. This is the Raw after Royal Rumble. A lot of people from all over the world traveled to Phoenix, Arizona for this weekend. There was 49,000 or something people in the building for Royal Rumble. So I think it was obvious that she was going to face some kind of adversity. However, this promo was bad, bad, bad. At the end of the day, though, she redeemed herself. I think she's going to continue to get better on the microphone. But the match with Bayley, they literally sent Bayley out. They were like, yo, go save her right now. Because Ronda didn't even get the open challenge out. They had announced that there would be an open challenge or something. I think they announced it, maybe. They announced it, I'm pretty sure, in advance. But even if they announced it, she never really got it out of her mouth. It's like when Cena used to do it. They would announce he would do it later in the night. Then he'd come out. He would do the whole build up towards it. Then he'd yell, who's coming out for the open challenge, blah, 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 whatever. Ronda didn't have this moment.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I was very critical of Ronda for that opening promo. Like you said, she was just clearly not ready for that fan reaction to happen. And like you said, if nobody told her that that was a possibility, shame on them in the back, because they really let her out there to die on her own. And it became apparent as soon as she went out there. And Triple H planting the seed earlier in the night, saying that Becky Lynch was not there tonight, I think really kind of fed the fuel, added fuel to this fire, because they knew she wasn't there. They, in their minds, she was not there yet, and we didn't know that she was there at that point. Ronda then comes out with this. I forget how she started the promo, but it came off super corny, and they hit her right away with just a ton of boos. And here's the key, and this was the point I made to you. You know, granted, I fully understand. She's been around for a year. She's not used to this environment yet. I give her a pass on that, absolutely. But the one thing you cannot do in that situation is acknowledge that you're fucking up the entire time. Yeah, you can say maybe one time, yeah, I slipped up, you got me, guys. I've seen like Seth Rollins do that before and other guys. But you can't keep doing it like multiple times where people are like, wow, we're really getting to her. We're just going to keep cranking it up. We're going to make it even worse. And I don't think fans were intentionally trying to make her feel horrible, but I think they were saying to themselves, well, man, she's really not she's not responding to this very well right now. Let's see how far we can push it. Let's see if we can really get under her skin. And they did. You could clearly see on her face she was not happy, and she didn't know what to do. And that was unfortunate. I felt bad for her in that moment. And Bayley being sent out there early was definitely the right call, because if she stayed out there even longer, it could have been even worse. And I did say, you know, that was a big hit. That's going to leave a mark on her. I'm going to be very interested to see next time she comes out there how she does. She did redeem herself later on in the night. But I feel like that was just so much adrenaline in her, and she was just ready to just kind of spew out. So I'm just interested to see how she does next time she has to come out there with her emotions in check. But yeah, she really redeemed herself at the end there. A fiery Ronda Rousey. I've been debating somebody on Twitter all freaking week about this, that fiery, badass, I want to rip your arm off Ronda Rousey is the best version of her by far. And the fact that people reacted so quickly to her when she became that tonight was exactly my point, is that, yes, some of these other versions are fine. The smiley, happy-go-lucky Ronda Rousey, sure. If that's what you want to do with her, this badass chick that basically put women's mixed martial arts on the map, you want to treat her as the smiley, happy-go-lucky character, sure. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. But what's been proven to get her over in the UFC and in WWE is being a badass, saying very little, and ripping people's arms off. And if they don't continue with that formula, I just don't see how she's going to be very successful going forward. Granted, she will always be a draw. She will always put together good matches in the ring. She's proven herself there. But the fact that she's being told, or she is going out there on her own and cutting these long-winded promos, just aren't working. And I'm hoping that they kind of learn from tonight and keep her promo short and sweet.
They absolutely don't help her. I mean, she a fiery, like you said, fiery, angry, mean Ronda Rousey is the one that we like. And I'm curious to see the eventual heel turn I don't think we're going to see it on this WrestleMania run, but and the rumor is she's taking a break after WrestleMania, whatever. But I think we're going to see it in the future. And when she's a heel, I think it's going to be a different dynamic. She can be mean and fiery the entire time. It doesn't have to worry about slappy hands and smiling to the kids out there. She can be as mean as she wants to be. Becky Lynch, of course, is completely on fire right now. There's really nothing standing in Becky Lynch's way. A little surprised by the Royal Rumble tap out last night. Bully Ray was the first one I saw who suggested that Becky should have passed out to that odd, like cattle mutilation, kind of like chicken wing hybrid submission that Asuka did, which was dope, by the way. I thought it was really good. But tapping out builds up Asuka for I guess this division's kind of in flux right now, the SmackDown Women's division. So with Becky, I guess is moving. Did they really pinpoint this? Is she moving to Raw? Or is she just challenging the Raw Women's Champion? Is she still going to be on SmackDown?
I think she's challenging the Raw Women's Champion. I think she'll be on Raw sometimes, but I also think that if she wins the title, I think she will become a part of Raw. I mean, I would think that's how that works, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, man. But like I remember back in the day when I believe it was Chris Benoit who won that Royal Rumble in 2004. He who we do not speak of. Shout out to the Wrestling Roundtable circa 2010. Chris Benoit was like on Raw immediately and was on Raw the entire time. He didn't show up on SmackDown anymore after he decided that he was going to challenge for the Raw title. I don't know, man. It seems to me that they didn't really. They have loose ends to tie up here. I suggested an angle tomorrow night where Vince McMahon actually overturns this whole Becky Lynch thing to add some heat to it, to give her a storyline moving forward and a match in the future on the road to WrestleMania with Charlotte, where Vince McMahon just comes out and berates Fit Finlay for making this decision to let Becky go into the match when she didn't have a spot in the Royal Rumble to take Lana's place, and just kind of berates him and says, all right, Becky Lynch, if you want to keep your shot at Ronda Rousey, you have to wrestle Charlotte because Charlotte was the last one with you. I don't know. I think they should milk this a little bit more. The Rumble win, I mean, because both Rumbles were controversial like they usually are. But they need to milk this out a little bit more instead of just being like, okay, it's going to be Ronda versus Becky. But the fans are digging it. The fans are really clamoring for a Becky Lynch-Ronda Rousey match and a Becky Lynch win. Next up, man, Braun Strowman gives Seth Rollins the approval. So Braun's still a smiling babyface. And this transitions into Braun versus Drew McIntyre, which is standard, man. I mean, you can't expect too much more out of Drew McIntyre working with Braun Strowman than what we got tonight. Decent little match, nothing spectacular, nothing I'll ever remember. I barely remember any spot that happened aside from Baron Corbin got involved and they tried to put the beat down on Braun Strowman. And eventually they did. So this leads me to think they're setting up Braun Strowman for another like babyface run, even though he's not going for a title. I'm confused. What are they doing with this guy? Are they trying to rehab him a little bit? I feel like they're doing that with Baron Corbin on the heel side. Are they doing the same thing with Braun Strowman right now?
I feel like he's just being put on ice right now. They can't really do anything with him because of Seth right now, and Seth is going to obviously face Brock Lesnar, as we'll talk about later. So right now, it looks like Braun's just going to be kind of put on ice, and it's really not a good time for him. I've said before, this guy is getting colder and colder, and I'm hoping that by the time they come around to realizing that they need to do something with him, it's not too late. I think Braun is charismatic enough, and I think people like him enough to where he'll be okay. But I think there should be some concern about how over this guy is, and if you take the crowd noise from this time last year to now, it's changed, and it's changed big time. And he's taken a lot of hits on promos, and his match. People are kind of seeing through his matches, and you can kind of feel people being less excited about him. So hopefully they can rehab him and keep him hot while he's not being used in the title picture. He's got to win a title this year. I don't care what title it is, if it's the IC title or the World Championship. He's got to win something because he's really losing a lot of credibility every week. He is not premiered as a top guy or the top guy of the company. So Seth Rollins is going to have something to say about that, obviously, and I'll be interested to see who they pick past WrestleMania, if they go with Seth Rollins or if they go with Braun Strowman.
I think they're definitely going to go with Seth Rollins. I personally believe they've lost a lot of their confidence in Braun Strowman after that promo with Brock Lesnar. Because up until that point, I think it was the plan to do Brock versus Braun. A lot of these internet, reporters like Meltzer and these guys, wrestling reporters, they were saying that it was the plan was Brock versus Finn all along. I don't buy that. I think they decided to call an audible when Braun Strowman completely screwed up that promo, and a couple of weeks ago, and everybody was like, "What are they doing?" Because I don't see any other reason. He was obviously cleared to compete, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But they did the right thing because Braun versus Brock again was a bad idea, and he needs rehab. He needs character rehab right now. He needs to get over, and getting heat on heels against him is probably the way to do it. I like Braun versus Lashley as a possibility in the future as well. He's a big dude, somebody who could lift Braun Strowman with no problem, and it would be I guess, probably not a great match, but at least entertaining because Leo Rush could get involved, Braun Strowman could chase him around, all that good stuff. And this 3 hours, dude, I got to tell you the truth, man. I am so burnt out on WWE. I'm burnt out, dude. Yeah. NXT Royal Rumble was a marathon, 3 hours of Raw tonight, 2 hours of SmackDown tomorrow night, NXT again on Wednesday, NXT UK, 205 Live. What the fuck is happening? I'm just, dude, the road to WrestleMania is going to be long and fucking strenuous. Are you going to WrestleMania? I forgot. Are you going?
I'm not really sure yet. Probably not. I'm thinking about just going to NXT. So, I was just thinking the other day, like, out of all these events that you can go to, how is NXT not like the best value out of all these shows? I mean, 2.5 hours. I know I'll have a great time, and the tickets will probably be cheaper than WrestleMania. So
way cheaper. Yeah. I'm gonna probably go to NXT as well. I haven't gotten my NXT tickets yet or anything. I don't even know if they're on sale for WrestleMania weekend yet, but once they go on sale, I'm probably going to jump on that and go to NXT too. But I am going to WrestleMania, damn it. And I was pumped to see what would happen here because I am a Brock Lesnar mark. I'm a fan. I'm always in Brock Lesnar's corner. Everybody can attest to that. I've been this way for years, and I'm not changing. I understand the dynamics behind the Brock Lesnar character in WWE, the Brock Lesnar MMA fighter. Everything that Brock Lesnar does right now is about legacy. And if you guys think that he's trying to phone it in and be lazy in these matches, you are wrong. This motherfucker, he wants to perform at a high level. Just a lot of times he can't. And he tries. And he can't. When you put him against Kane. Last year, Royal Rumble, I looked at those results. It's a Royal Rumble last year. I'll never watch again probably. But it was Brock defending the Universal title against Kane and Braun Strowman. That was last year's Brock match. So this year we get something completely different. Finn Balor. And WrestleMania, we get something completely different with Seth Rollins. We've seen the match before, but it's been years. We haven't seen it since, 2015? Brock versus Seth. So, and this is a new dynamic. This is a new Rollins. This is a Rollins that is a fire, burn it down babyface that everybody wants to see. So here we go into the main attraction of the night. Paul Heyman sets the stage here, basically tells Rollins, like, yo, you only have one choice here. One choice. And that's Daniel Bryan. And for my money, I think Daniel Bryan's going to somehow get into a match with Cena at WrestleMania. I don't really see any other option at this point. I don't think they're going to do AJ Styles again. So my bet, if I'm a betting man, it's going to be Bryan versus Cena. But Lesnar and Rollins is going down. Rollins didn't have anything to say to Lesnar. Came out to the ring. A brawl ensued. Brock Lesnar beat the trash out of him. Nothing huge happened here. Just physicality. Just a big brawl to end the night between Rollins and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar gets the upper hand, and it'll probably be a month or whatever until we see Lesnar again. So this is how Raw ended. It's going to be Rollins versus Lesnar at WrestleMania in the main event, dude. What do you think, man? Any final thoughts on this segment and the rest of Monday Night Raw?
Yeah, I think Brock, like you said, I think Brock kind of gets a little bit of a bad rap sometimes. I've got him right over my shoulder right here. He is. I think personally, I think he gets a bad rap for people. I think people have taken this. He doesn't care about WWE storyline and have actually attributed it to him as a person. And I don't think that's true. I think Brock cares very much about what happens in the ring. I think he cares very much about his performance. When he comes out on Raw and is just standing there with Paul Heyman, is he giving 100%? No, but how are we going to measure that? All he has to do is just stand there. So how are we going to measure if he's really invested when all he's asked to do is stand there with the titles and stand next to Paul Heyman while he talks? So I don't see how we can attribute his work ethic to those moments. I can't really see that. One thing I can see is every time he's in a match with somebody he can work with, he puts on a good match, and he seems to care. His selling last night, I think people are really underrating how great he sold that midsection injury early on in the match. I think he really sold that the rest of the way. He sold that tonight with Seth Rollins. I think Brock gets a bad rap, and I think even that clip from WWE 24 has kind of continued to fuel the thing of like, this guy hates being there. He's just so pissed off about being with WWE. It's like, no, dude, he probably was upset that match sucked so bad, because if you remember, he comes back from that Roman match and it was horrible. So he probably hated that he had to be involved in that. So in the end, Brock, I think, is going to put on a great match with Seth Rollins. I think Brock cares about Seth Rollins. They've worked together in the past, and I think he's going to care enough to kind of put this guy over. If Hunter and Vince sit him down and go, hey, this is the guy we're going to go with. This is who we want to win this title. I think he'll do business, and I think Seth Rollins was great tonight. One thing that, again, maybe nitpicking a little bit, the fact that he got 5 F5s tonight. That just kind of doesn't sit well with me, especially him kind of getting up after that fourth one, kind of really no-selling 4 F5s. Kind of, again, from a wrestling perspective and a kayfabe perspective, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But again, we've still got a lot of time until they actually wrestle, like 3 months. So I'm okay with what happened tonight. I guess they really wanted to establish Brock Lesnar tonight. They did that. I'm interested to see what's next.
It wouldn't surprise me if, a lot of people were speculating that this would go down at the Royal Rumble in some way, shape, or form. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Roman Reigns return at WrestleMania, not in like a wrestling capacity, not like come back full time or anything, but it wouldn't surprise me if he made a cameo in this match to maybe either A, help Seth Rollins, or B, celebrate with Seth Rollins at the end of the night, just for a pop. It wouldn't surprise me. But Roman, just to speak for Roman for a second,
looks good. Corner even.
Yeah. There you go. Be his second. I mean, he can contribute. I know he can do something. Just maybe not get physical if you're still fucked up or whatever and sick. But listen, man. At the end of the day, I think they're going with Seth Rollins. That's the way to go. He's earned it. He's been on fire. He's had some awesome. Dating back to last year when he had that. Remember that gauntlet match he had where he like almost ran the table? It was amazing. It was fucking fantastic. And he's been earning his stripes in all of 2018 into the early this year. And man, going to be Seth versus Brock. So that's about all I got to say about Raw tonight, man. This Raw review was fun, bro. We had a lot to talk about and we did it, dude. Any final comments, cherry on top of Raw or anything?
No, like I said, I think the show was all right, considering we had kind of a post-Mania, post-Rumble crowd tonight, so they were pretty loud and kept the energy the entire time. Obviously Seth and Becky being the most over people on the show tonight, and really, I really have very little complaints about tonight's show. I thought it was good. I mean, there were a couple moments where it dragged, but overall, I really can't complain.
Yeah, man. Same here, bro. Great show tonight, dude. I had fun.
Yeah, me too.
If you're watching, guys, especially on the replay, and I know we got a few live viewers, thank you so much. I appreciate the attention. I appreciate you guys joining us here in the very early stages of our Raw review project we got going on here. But if you can please do us a favor.
We got to give a rating.
Oh, yeah, duh. You're right. My bad. I got these written down over here, too. I'm going to give Raw a B tonight. I'm giving it a B.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I'll go with a B as well. Very, very solid show.
Yeah, solid up and down. I mean, this is what I expected from Raw tonight. I wasn't expecting any kind of anything earth-shattering, groundbreaking. I expected standard WWE business, and they did it in a good way, man. They started off hot, they ended it hot. We got the Royal Rumble winner in the beginning. We got him at the end. There was a storyline throughout the show. I dug it, man. It was a solid Raw. But guys, if you're watching, especially on the replay, please do us a favor. Hit that like button if you liked what you saw. And also subscribe to the channel. This really helps with our algorithms, and it helps YouTube pick us up and send us out there to the rest of the WWE universe. And that's what we want to do, man. We want to get this show out there. So, Aaron, thanks so much, brother. Great show tonight, and I will talk to you later, dude.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Peace, brother.